Hey, everybody. Welcome to Pale in Comparison, a proud member of the Doof Network. In this podcast, my sister uses her knowledge of the Otherverse to take a look at Pact, Wildbow's least chill work, and I try to not give away any spoilers. I'm Jenny, and Malia convinced me to read Worm.
I'm Malia, and Jenny convinced me to read everything else. This episode, we are covering Judgment, Chapter 16.1. Before I get into that, however, I'd like to issue a spoiler warning. This podcast is filled with pale spoilers. If you don't know whether Kenneth manages to defeat Charles, and don't want us to tell you, stop now, read Pale, and come back to this podcast. As for Pact, there'll be full spoilers to the chapters we are covering.
Woo! I got out of the mirror.
Woo!
Woo!
She's back.
I'm back. Thank you, Elliot, for taking my place, but I am taking it back over.
Woohoo!
Yay!
Just in time for the last fucking arc of this book, which is insane.
Which is insane, as is tradition. I mean, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, so the reason we're only covering one chapter is because I read this chapter a while ago, and I thought I read both 16.1 and 16.2, because I was like, so much shit happened, and I was doing my notes today, and I was like, wait, we haven't gone to the next chapter yet? That's like, you know, listening to the audiobook, like, that's so weird, and then getting to the end and being like, oh no, that's the last thing I remember.
Yeah.
So
we're just gonna do 16.1 today, and it's gonna be good.
It's gonna be great.
Liz, yeah, we're excited to talk about it. We're gonna, it's a new arc. What does judgment mean, Malia?
Well, I looked up some different definitions. So one aspect of judgment is it's the ability to make considered decisions or to come to sensible conclusions. Sort of like discernment. I feel like judgment is one of the like 7 fruits or 9 gifts of the Holy Spirit or some shit. I have those reversed. I think it's 7 gifts, 9 fruits, whatever. And I could look that up, but I didn't.
You could have, but you know,
it just occurred to me now. But you know that bodes well. And then like decisions of a court or judge, the judgment in a legal context is it's like the final verdict sort of a thing. But like even after a court case is like a trial is done, the judge still has to like officially file and submit like the judgment. Like, you know, the jury can sit up and say guilty or not guilty or whatever, and the judge still has to go and like file it, and that's called a judgment. Which isn't that exciting of a legal sense, but it does have a legal sense. And then another term of judgment is like judgment day. Like
shit's gonna hit the fan.
Yeah, like so like misfortune or calamity viewed as divine punishment, or like the like day of reckoning kind of a thing. So either it's like Sodom and Gomorrah or it's like Revelation. Like that kind of like shit is getting real because of divine powers beyond our control. And then tarot is fun. And judgment is one of the cards of the major arcana. And specifically, it's the second to last card. So it comes right near the end, which is fitting for the story. It's number 20, and it's about like self-reflection and self-evaluation. Like, you know, it can signal a time is coming, or it is a time to like really sit down and like evaluate your shit in the sense of like a last judgment kind of deal. Or maybe like Osiris weighing you type of thing. It can be a sign that you're judging yourself too harshly. And then it also, it can have to do with like resurrection or awakening in the sense of like Judgment Day, right? Where like the Christian view why you weren't supposed to get cremated back in the day is that like you needed that your body later because you would be resurrected, and it would be a new period would start. Things would come to an end and things would begin, and so that really fits this period of the story, right? Like things are coming to an end, and maybe new things are beginning.
Things are
but
coming to an
also
end, which is
shit's gonna get fucking insane.
it's gonna be wild.
It's Elliot compared a recent Pale chapter to like Pact on steroids, and then I reread this chapter and I was like, no, it's not. Like the scale is bigger in terms of how many people and whatever are involved, but
the shit's wild.
yeah, like yeah. Oh, Pact, we love
Pact
you.
has just no chill.
Pact has no chill, and we love it.
We love it. So I wanted to share with you guys one other judgment. This is so stupid, but I'm gonna. So, I was trying to look up the chapter online, and for some reason I wasn't really thinking, and I didn't type pact or whatever. I just typed judgment 16.1. So what came up was the Bible, Judges 16, chapter 1. I'm gonna read you guys what that is right now. All right, this is Judges chapter 16 verse 1. Okay. One day Samson went to Gaza. He saw a prostitute there and he had sex with her. The end.
It's a great start to a story.
Yeah,
is this when Samson still had hair? Could you figure that out?
You know, I didn't
I guess the end of the Samson story is
no, he still did have hair.
Yeah,
he did, because he met Delilah a little after that. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Cool. Sorry, just reading this. He saw a prostitute, had sex with her. People in Gaza were told Samson is here. They surrounded the place where he was staying. They lay in wait for him all night at the city gate. They kept quiet, saying, in the morning, we're going to kill him. Samson lay there until midnight. Then at midnight, he got up and took hold of the city gates with his 2 posts. He lifted up the gates, put him on his shoulders, and carried him to the top of the hill that faces Hebron. And then he fell in love with Delilah later on.
So why do we need to know about the prostitute?
Because that's why they wanted to kill him, I guess.
Really? I thought it was just like they already wanted to kill him and he happened to
just took a break.
Like it's a little bit of a detail. Like this is where he was.
Like he stopped here for lunch.
Yeah.
Except he saw a prostitute and
yeah, you're just like, great.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know who wrote this. It was a detail that was important to them at the time. I don't think God was like, you need to make sure
they know
everyone knows that there was a prostitute. Like, why did they choose to put this in the Bible? I don't know, but
yeah, because it doesn't even seem to pass that much judgment. Like, I can't tell whether it's like this was. Yeah, it's just like this is what was happening.
Yeah, this happened, and
it's like a weird like establishing detail, and then it's like, and then these dudes wanted to fucking kill him, and you're like, oh shit. But just like there was a prostitute.
There's a prostitute.
He slept with her.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it happens. You know. Yeah, like what? I don't understand.
Yeah, my question is, how does that connect to this chapter? Because it must.
I think it has to, because it came up when I Googled it.
Right.
So, okay. So let's think. Who is Samson and who is a prostitute? Do I need to read the summary first? And then we can maybe we can come back.
Yeah, maybe we can come back to it.
Okay, I'm going to read the summary, and then we're going to decide who's Samson and who's a prostitute. Okay. Rose comes face to face with the lawyers while Blake feeds her memories. Imitations of the dead come to torment the living. Everyone fights. Faisal decides to maybe be helpful, but is taken over by flute magic and a rocket launcher to the rescue. Okay, this is going to be difficult.
So if the dudes laying in wait to kill Samson are the lawyers.
Okay, but no, wait. That's too far ahead. The only thing that's applicable is one day Samson went to Gaza. He saw a prostitute there and he had sex with her. That's it. That is the first verse. So we can't go on. We can't.
Okay.
I know.
We
can make this a discussion question, but we might not be able to get to it because Reddit is protesting. Woo! Rightly so. But anyway.
Yeah. we'll just let you dwell on it, readers. You know,
Yeah.
you should do a little bit of this
Who is the
work
prostitute to you?
yourself. What is the what is
Like, who is Samson? Who is like where is Gaza?
Where is Gaza?
Where is Gaza? What is sex? Like, what does it mean? I mean, I don't know. We can come back to this later, Malia. I mean,
where is Gaza?
Where is Gaza?
Well, all right.
This is not the kind of biblical like examination or like that. Like, I don't think this is exactly what they mean when like study the Bible. I just don't think.
I don't know.
I don't know. You know what? They put it in there, okay?
Right, like who are we to pick and choose what we do or do not close read?
And also, that's the only part of like the verse. Like that's it. 2 sentences. They couldn't add anything else in there. Just like he went to Gaza, he saw a prostitute there, and he had sex with her. The end.
How do they break up verses in the Bible?
I don't know. You're a better Catholic than I am, Malia.
I mean, I don't remember being taught that, but
I don't know.
Well, someone knows.
Well, they don't teach you how to write the Bible. It just happened,
But like sometimes they'll teach you about how the Bible was written. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe they just didn't think.
I also don't know how chapters are broken up. No one's taught me any of this.
Yeah. And why? I'm just like, why? Not only is that a verse in itself, it's the first fucking verse.
Well, it's establishing,
Yeah.
It's like,
but like they could have still been like,
what, when, where.
But it could also have been like, the people in Gaza were told Samson is here, and then Samson saw a prostitute and had sex with her, and then they surrounded the place. No, it's like,
but
why?
Right, like that's it. Those details are just establishing. It's not actually important.
But like, yeah. But why? But like, why? Why did they say the prostitute? Why didn't they say like he stopped at the cafe and had some hummus or whatever?
Because that's inaccurate or a weird euphemism.
Oh my god! Okay, we better. Okay, that's not what I meant it as, but you know what? Fair play. Oh, I'll try to do that. Fuck. Okay. All that being said, Malia, what did you think of this chapter?
This chapter was a lot, and like on our brief discussion before this podcast, maybe not quite as insane as I thought, but in a way that is worse for everyone involved. But we'll get there. I don't know. It was nuts.
You can almost compare it to this verse in terms of like it's so short, but it says so much.
It says so much.
It says so much.
So many things happen.
So many things happened. All right. Well, we'll start with talking about how Rose comes face to face with the lawyers while Blake feeds her memories.
Yeah. So one thing that I reflect a lot in my notes for this chapter is the fact that like we're in Rose's perspective, basically, and like I think the argument, or like it's that Blake is so deep in Rose's perspective that he doesn't emerge at all during this chapter. Like, I mean, to the point where it doesn't feel like we're in Blake's perspective, and I'm wondering, I'm curious as to why Wildbows made this decision. Like, I don't think it's a bad decision. It's just like, why break this rule that you've established where unless it's an interlude arc, you're like first person Blake. The last few chapters, last arc got really close to Rose, but there'd still be points where Blake would like, rear his head up and be like, I'm here and this is what I'm experiencing. And usually, like his decision to give Rose the power of friendship and those things were like we were experiencing that through Blake's point of view. Whereas a couple of times in this chapter, we see Rose experience Blake doing shit in her head, but like from her point of view. And I don't know if it's just like like I mean, I'm really enjoying this. It's a really cool opportunity to get to understand this character who's really fascinating and really complicated and like, an antagonist for our protagonist often.
Mhm.
Um and it is probably a lot simpler and maybe a little bit more dynamic to be in the head of the point of view who's like has more agency. Um Although Blake is literally in her head, and so we could be pretty close to all of those thoughts and decisions as well.
Mhm.
But it does help me understand a little bit about like, she gets really upset about Alexis and is like, I've never been upset about a human before. like you get to, Blake wouldn't necessarily be able to phrase it like that.
Mhm.
Um, Maybe because again, he's in her head. It's this weird thing where like I'm not sure if we'll just sort of transition back into Blake,
Mhm.
like will this arc kind of be like going back and forth between them? I really do think he needs to get out of her head because like
It's not
Waldo
good.
missed his chance for this story not to be about Blake. Like like 8 arcs ago, he made the decision to bring this dude back and like cemented like no, this is Blake's story. And so him sort of slowly fading into another character without us being able to really experience that with him doesn't feel satisfying. So I guess there's a chance that maybe he doesn't emerge from Rose, but we do get the final like merger of this person from Blake's perspective. Um and I mean, yeah, we have another 12-ish chapters I think to do that in. But it felt kind of significant that like we never bounce to Blake. It's like third person very close on Rose.
Yeah.
Um and we're already worried about him like losing all of his self and shit. So, I don't know.
Yeah. It's like poor Blake.
I know. Um and like kind of poor Rose, and it's just like they keep trying to be generous with each other while
Mhm.
also like being really fucked up by the things the other person's doing, and it's really painful. And also the things that they're doing. Um like Blake really fucked up his whole self by giving Rose emotions.
Yeah.
But also like that maybe really helped. Um yeah. But yeah, we see the lawyers and Blake Rose thinks about them and is like, "Oh, that one's possessed by a demon and that one's creepy as fuck." And maybe one of them was the one who like took me to Toronto. I'm not sure if that was definitely confirmed. But kind of thinking about the group that is against them and then thinking about the group that she's roped into this. Um
Yeah.
Diana's kind of like out on her own. Isadora has like backed up to the point where Paige is exposed. Because, is it because she's immortal and so something that can destroy you is scarier if you're immortal? Or she can see more than other people can, so she sees more, whatever. And then there's the elder sister who really gives off strong like Anne and Deb vibes to me, who's just like, I like what the fuck? Like a little like less obnoxious, but very similar vibes. And I wonder if I mean, presumably Deb knows of this coven, if not like straight up knows them, and that's fun
Yeah.
to think about them interacting.
Yeah. It is.
Oh god. Like I wonder almost if like she like was a part of this group and then was like blow by. Or maybe is still we don't see her in like red robes or whatever, but I don't know. Elemental chicks.
Elemental.
Um but yeah, so then Levin is like, Lewis, can you please get your shit together? Um and yeah. And
Yeah.
then Blake is like Rose realizes that Blake is like pushing up a bunch of memories that he's finding about the lawyers specifically. Like Rose talks about how, Grandma Rose had written all these diaries and like had like theoretically included everything. Um like even to the point where she talked about like her Diabolus conference in New York and how they like had an orgy or whatever, which sounds horrifying.
Like, yeah, that's like
It just sounds so awful. Um, Especially because thinking about like Black Lamb's blood, I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want to.
you don't want to. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, it was satisfying getting a tiny little bit of detail about her husband. that like she did find a dude and he was shitty and he abandoned them, and it was like, oh cool, okay. Like figured it out. Um and then one thing that I liked was that I think Rose compares the diaries to like files at a law firm. Um
Mhm.
there's something that happens in a lawsuit called the discovery process, or just called discovery, where you're obligated to like give the other side all of your shit that you have that's related to the case, because it's not fair for them to be like blindsided by things, or to not, like you're like, okay, I'm pretty sure that you fucked me over, but like I don't have the exact evidence to prove it, and our legal system like is like, yeah, you have to give them all the shit. But like the part of that is giving so much shit that it's a little overwhelming and they have to like sift through to find the good stuff. And part of it is being comprehensive and like responding to the discovery requests in a way that isn't like hiding anything, and that's an interesting sort of balance
Mhm.
between like, yeah. And so back in the day, because now it's electronic, but back in the day there'd just be like boxes and boxes and boxes of like paper that
Mhm.
would be taken to another law firm for them to look through, and just kind of most of that shit is not useful or relevant.
Mhm.
And so trying to sift through and figure out like find the narrative among all the garbage.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
uh,
they put baby attorneys to the task of doc review or document review,
mhm.
and that just means um going through all of the files and all of the documents for a case and trying to figure out, like, you do it both before you send discovery stuff over and like after you get discovery stuff sent.
Mhm.
You're trying to figure out like what is relevant, and if there's any sort of like legal privilege that applies, that would mean that you didn't have to give it up. And so it's a bit mind numbing, and they put baby attorneys on it. Yeah,
That's painful.
yeah. Ben's like weirdly good at it.
For some reason, that reminds me of this is very different, but for some reason, it kind of reminds me of when I was in high school. I did that internship at the police department
Uh huh.
with that lab where they tested for drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Like they, would get sent evidence with like crack pipes and stuff like that, and they'd test them and see how much drugs uh were there, basically. um
Nice.
and I remember when I first started there, because there was only one person that worked in the lab, and she ended up being really cool. But literally she had me sorting her paper clips.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know if it's just to see if I was gonna be a good worker or something, but, like, she had, like, a shit ton of paper clips, and she was just like, "Okay, yeah, you need to sort these." I was like, "Okay, I'll do
Like
it."
by size?
Yeah, I think it was by size. Yeah, there were a
Wild.
lot of them. Yeah, and, I guess after that, she liked me, and I started to get to look at more drugs and stuff.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's a there's a fuckload of drugs. I think my first day, there were, like, 13 little baggies of cocaine.
Damn.
And then, like, learn how to wash out a meth pipe with, like, I believe
What?
acetone or something. Because like,
What? What?
so it's all, like, about, like, sentencing and stuff, right? So, like, the amount of drug that you find on them is the amount of years that they get sentenced for, or they try to get sentenced for. So,
Mm-hmm.
you have to try to get all the remnants of the drug out of the pipe or whatever so that you
Wow.
can see how much. Yeah. Then you weigh it. You can look at it under a microscope, or you can use the, like, what is it? Was it the spectrometer thingy? My barber can tell I retained a lot, but it was pretty
Like, I
cool.
feel like I've heard of that on some sort of mass spectrometer. I feel like I've heard of that on
Yeah.
NCIS or some shit.
Yeah. It's cool. It tells, like, how, basically, like, how much of junk is in things.
Weird.
If I'm thinking of the right, maybe not mass spectrometer, but
That was the word on some show.
I feel like it's just a spectrometer. I don't know.
Okay.
You know what? It's been a long time, so I might be butchering a bunch of stuff, but like, but it was really neat. But yeah, I sorted a lot of paper clips. A lot.
Uh,
And then I had to like, they still had some paper files and stuff, and I had to go and like put things in like alphabetical order that took forever, and I don't know. A lot of stuff took a lot.
that feels more useful, at least.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe she really liked her paper clips, and the last enter just fucked him up or something. I don't know. You know?
It just doesn't feel like the types of paper clips I'm imagining needing to be sorted like aren't different enough to matter.
Well, yeah. I mean, realistically, it probably did not matter. but you know what? I was trying to make a good impression. I was not going to bitch about it. I did
Yeah,
it. I think
that's
that there were
great.
maybe 2 or 3 sizes, and they were just standard paperclip shape.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a good experience. I mean, that part wasn't that good of an experience, but like overall it was a good experience.
Yeah.
It was cool. You gotta earn your dues, right?
It's just also very like I could see not really being prepared for the intern or whatever, and you're like, oh fuck, like I don't have anything at all for them to do except this is kind of a task. So while I figure out other shit that they could actually do, they could do this.
Yeah. I don't think it was that.
Oh, bummer.
I mean, maybe it was. That's being a little. I mean, again, I ended up really liking her, and like we got along and stuff. But like, I don't think that it was that charitable. All right. Is there anything else in this part?
I don't think so.
All right. Imitations of the dead come to torment the living.
Wah. I mean, it's kind of a relief that, Blake basically confirms by sending Rose that memory of Alexis that, like, this isn't, that they're not them, they're not real. Like, they're hardcore, but also, like, maybe death isn't eternal torture, or whatever.
Yeah.
Doug said, which was awful.
Mhm. Yeah, that was awful.
So, but, yeah, this was upsetting, and interesting, and, like, partly interesting because, like, these were, like, the big mic drop at the end of last chapter, and, like, they seem fairly resolved by the end of this chapter, and maybe that's not true, but, like, like, the whole thing is, like, are these people gonna succumb to, these scary dead people and let them unmake them or whatever, right? And Diana seemed to be like most at risk for that.
Mhm. Yeah.
And she doesn't let it happen, and the shepherd's like, "Well, bye, like goodbye, cruel world." But like it's kind of seems like everyone else is like gonna not just give in to whatever's happening, and like once Diana was able to do that, so yeah, I don't know, it's kind of interesting, and heart-wrenching, but like the fact that these aren't the people is like both a relief and also like I'm like no longer interested in them as like plot devices, which maybe is like kind of harsh, but like they like Rose says like 8 times like they're a distraction,
Yeah.
and like kind of being able to definitively say like, oh yeah, like these are things made from the memories of the other people, which like makes them super convincing, right? Like I mean it is
Yeah.
really cool because like these people can tell you all sorts of like deep shit about yourself and your relationship with them, and like cannot tell you anything else in a way that's really interesting, but also because the various people there have memories and connections to those dead people for different reasons, like they're not totally one-dimensional. Like
Mhm.
Fell is an uncle, but he's also like Conquest's employee, servant, whatever,
Yeah.
slave, and Diana killed him, and like yeah, there's all these other, like Fell wasn't just his niece's memories or whatever, and that makes them pretty compelling.
Mhm.
um yeah, but yeah, this is the part where we get like Rose has an emotion about a human. Which is sad.
Very sad.
And we get some people that are like not people. We get like 4 figures that are like all black and featureless is how Rose describes them. And so it's kind of like, oh, these are like people taken by Ur, I guess.
That's so sad.
It's really sad and interesting that like I don't know if it's indicative of the fact that like Ur doesn't completely and totally destroy people. Because presumably if they were completely gone, like they couldn't be picked out even as this.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Bless you.
Oh, thanks. But yeah, this part was weird because it was like there were 3 of these people for her group, one of whom was looking at Evan, and then there was a 1 for the Knights, and I was like, I would have thought it would be like 12 for the Knights, and that's all. Like, who else did they lose?
I know.
I mean, we know that there were those goblins that are gone. That would be wild if they brought back some goblins to stare at them. With like the barest connection to any of them.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, Callan also somehow like I, feel bad about Callan or whatever. And like, Kristoff's there, so maybe there's some like sympathetic memory of Callan, but also like he's just like, I gave you baths, like you pooped in your diaper, like it's like, oh my god, like please shut up. Like, Doug's being distressing, but also like cute and great, and Laird's just like, I exist, I guess, I don't know. And Fell's like, maybe I will kill all of you or something, but Callan's just like, oh my god, like everything sucks. Like, it's really funny and awful and funny. Also, it's just occurring to me as I'm looking at my notes, that maybe when he said I gave you baths, he was talking about Kristoff or talking to Kristoff. I thought he was talking to Rose. And I was like, why? I was like trying to imagine the world wherein like somehow like the various pieces of this family were coming together. Like they'd have to spend enough time with each other in the various pieces of their family, like where he would be giving them I just can't. I can't. Because also like he probably would have been like 8 or something for like the Rose contingent. I'm not sure because he's not that much older than them. So for Kristoff, that makes way more sense. Anyway, he's still a lot.
He's still a lot.
But yeah, Face All decides to be like, for the record, like I hate this, and yet I will do nothing to prevent this.
Like, thanks a lot.
Right. And so Isadora takes the opportunity to be like, see, Blake, I told you to fucking kill yourself. And it's like, okay, this was not necessary, Isadora. Please stop. And Rose somehow manages to be like jealous of the fact that like Isadora is telling Blake to go, that he should have killed himself or whatever.
You guys are such a dysfunctional little family.
It's like, oh my god, like I guess somebody looking directly into your eyes and saying something and then being like, I'm not talking to you is like really fucking rude.
That is pretty fucking rude.
Especially because she could have said, Blake or Little Warrior or whatever to make it clearer. As opposed to just being like, oh, Rose, you don't matter or exist to me. So like that's fair to have like a reaction to that, but also Isadora just like, what the fuck? This isn't helping. Blake is like, maybe an eighth of a person at this point. Like, leave him alone. Like, he can't do anything. You don't need to rub it in.
Yeah. Like you're being kind of you're being complete bitch.
We're so far past the point where that is constructive. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's definitely not constructive. I don't know if she cared if it was constructive or not, to be honest.
That's fair.
I don't think she cared.
I guess they are facing like demons.
Yeah, I guess that'll make anyone a little testy.
Yeah, but and it is pretty rich how Rose manages to like get mad at Blake for this. so funny.
I mean, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Y'all, I woke up today and normally I'm like, I think I'm one of those people that was supposed to like be awake at night to like tend the fires and whatever night people were supposed to do. So normally in the morning I'm like I just feel awful and it takes me forever to wake up. But this morning I was kind of like, okay, like I can do this. Like I woke up, I was feeling all good and I was feeling fine. And then like I started getting sleepy around like 11 and then by like 2 o'clock I'm like, this is agony. I have to like sit here at my desk at work and like I can't function because I'm so tired, but I can't like do anything else other than try to look like I'm working. And
That's rough.
yeah, because like capitalism is bad or whatever. And I thought I don't know, I was like, okay, we're gonna talk about this chapter and my brain's gonna turn on, and it hasn't.
It hasn't. You know, it's okay. At least we're only talking about one
I know.
insane chapter.
It's so good.
It's
Oh my
pretty
god,
damn
wait.
good.
And then so Rose decides to be like, I don't want to die. And it's like, okay, maybe you're doing some spirit stuff, but okay, fine. And Peter's like, duh. And then Kellen's like, what about me? I'm dead. It's like, god damn it. It's like, we've already established that you're not Callan, so fuck off. I'm dead. How does it make me feel?
Do we care?
No. Like, shut up. Oh my god. But yeah, and so Rose is like, how do I deal with the situation? And she's like, maybe Blake will send me more feelings or memories or something that'll help. And then she's like, no, I'm half of this person. Like, maybe I'm supposed to figure this out. So she immediately represses all the feelings that she just got and decides to be like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, to like her, allies. And is basically like, we've like Blake and I have been fighting demons and you've been ignoring that and now you're buying into their bullshit and like, how dare you. Which is fair.
Which fair, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. It's hard to argue with that.
Yeah. And so she's like, somebody help. And so Blake decides to help by like making her feel really bad because he didn't mean to, but he gave her feelings about friends, specifically Alexis. And
Very
then he's like, oh hey, I can help. Look. Here's a memory I have from 20 minutes ago where I saw dead Alexis like super abyssified.
You're welcome.
And like I mean, it sucks so bad because Rose is like on the one hand, this is useful and this helps and this is good evidence or whatever, but also like, one, I agreed to be a scourge for the abyss and you gave me a memory that like was the abyss trying to get its hooks into you, so that sucks. And also, two, like, I'm not a sociopath anymore, like this sucks now.
Yeah, like, why'd you gotta make my job harder, bro?
And it just, but he's also like, it is helpful, and it's just so sad that like they keep fucking each other up because they both are trying really hard. And like, yeah, like Blake giving that up is a loss for him, and it's just really awful.
It's pretty awful. Excuse me.
Yeah. But yeah, so Rose is like, Blake is like, Rose, you gotta center yourself. You gotta focus on the now. Like, we don't have time to make plans, bitch. Like, you gotta go. Like, the time for plans is over. And she's like, okay, you're right. And in like, what would Blake do fashion, she's like, where's Evan? And Evan's like, I will help you. I will do the thing. It'll be fine. Meanwhile, Diana has this like really awful moment where she's like, I just like have kind of gotten over your death, Doug, and everything's awful, and I hate this. And so evil zombie Doug almost disintegrates her with the power of demons, and she manages to like push a button and LED lights like flare up. Was that real? So fucking cool. She's just like has like LEDs like wired all down her whole body or something, and also she had wings for a second. I don't know. And so like she's an angel for a sec, and I'm so proud of her, but also what the fuck?
I mean, it's pretty cool.
It's so cool. And it's like, yeah, I know you haven't really read the latest Pale chapter, but Verona's trying to think a lot about what to do and what the big baby is and stuff. And so she's thinking about horrors and angels, and even like mentions astrology or astronomy for maybe the first time in the story. And it's kind of like, does anyone know anything about astronomy? And I was like, Diana, like, you need Diana. Where is she? This would be so great. And it was fun that we were reading this chapter now.
Yeah, so she's pretty cool.
I love her.
She's an angel. Everyone starts fighting.
Yeah, and again the shepherd just immediately gives up. Really shouldn't be that funny. Part of it he's like, fuck it, it's not worth it. And like, it's really like traumatizing how he dies and all that. Part of it is that I can't really remember the exact details. I know there were 3 kids. It's something about them dying, and he's like been obsessed forever with that. So it kind of makes sense. I think I find it funny that like Wildbow has brought this man back into the story just long enough for him to like die in a super like tragic and horrific way based on like this very specific backstory that again I don't really remember because for us that was like years ago or something, but like that no one else there knows about. And it's probably gotta be like, yeah, really, I mean it's a cool way to be like, these things are scary and bad, but just this man has no more fucks. And so yeah, so Rose is like, I must rely on the things I have going for me, which is conquest. But then also is like, maybe Blake is something I have going for me. So hopefully that was useful and not worse for Blake when she reaches out to him as well. And so Evan manages to save Rose's life in his classic way, where, you know, she's trying to not get shot by Fel, and he jumps out of her hand or whatever, in a way that like pushes her down, which means the bullet misses, which is cool.
Evan's the best.
He's the best. And Rose sees like an eyes in the darkness and is like, oh fuck, green eyes is gonna kill me. And I'm like, that's probably not what is happening. It's kind of upsetting that you're so afraid of her, but also she is scary, I guess. Yeah. And she does not like you because you've eaten Blake. Yeah. But also she probably wants to like make sure that nothing bad happens to you because you've eaten Blake.
Yeah.
Wonder where she is. Because it's not her. It's a big imp that Alistair manages to make into a slightly smaller imp. And then
it helps a little bit, probably.
Yeah, maybe. And then one of the because we got astrologers, we got elementalists. It really is whatever's happening in Pale right now. The elder sister strikes the demon with lightning, which helps. The lawyers are there.
They're just chilling.
They're just like, well,
just observing.
Everything's fine. We have this in the bag.
We got this in the bag. And then that, you know, triggers Faisal to like try to be helpful.
Rose is like, literally do something.
He's like, okay.
You're and still technically an angel, which is technically against these dickheads.
But unfortunately, he's also still technically a dog. And so he gets taken over by the flute. And then a little after that, rocket launcher time, baby.
Woo! This was hype. I'm so hype. We did it. The rocket launcher was used. It is funny how Faisal is like maybe gonna do something, and then Miss Lewis is like, isn't it nicer when we work together? And he's like, yeah, okay, let's talk about it. And then he's like, okay, let's talk about it. And then we hear a Fate tune, and he's like, oh my god,
Like, oh,
like holy
shit.
shit. Because we, remember that the whole thing was we were gonna try to go get the pipes from the abyss or whatever, and
Well, the
that
pipes
doesn't
are
matter
coming
anymore.
to you.
And this was the part that I interpreted. So like I read it originally and I was like, that was a lot I need to process. Because what I thought happened was that Barbatorum / Johannes shows up with the pipes, and that Faisal like explodes into a big into rays of light, which the lawyers then absorb, and so he's like dead now. But there's no evidence of it. Just that the lawyers do absorb some sort of light that comes off of him, and so presumably he's fully like taken over by Barbatorum because of the pipes, and so now we also have an angel on their side, which is bad.
That kind of sucks, man.
Yeah. And like him just straight up ceasing to exist like hurt my brain more as a reader, even though that's probably a better situation than the one we're in.
Like, where the fuck do you go?
Just like if now there's an angel that they're controlling as well, like we're so fucked. It's interesting, like, is Miss Lewis super evil is still a question, because she doesn't, it's like she doesn't look happy about this, and she starts to say something and then gets like blown up with a big rocket launcher. But maybe she was just sad about her boyfriend like getting got.
I mean, technically, her side has control over her boyfriend now, I guess.
Yeah, but like Barbatorum does or whatever, like she doesn't.
Oh, that's true. That's awkward. Barbie's got her boyfriend.
Yeah. But then Ellie fucking comes in clutch, and Andy uses the rocket launcher because, what better time than demon lawyers? And unfortunately, I'm sure it did not do anything other than give them a minute. Not even a minute,
It was probably really annoying, though.
Oh, it was probably really annoying. I mean, she, her getting shot sucked, so maybe it gave them a couple minutes.
Yeah. So
I don't know if it fucked Barbatorum over at all, but
probably not.
Yeah. And it's upsetting that that he looks like Johannes, because I still think Johannes really like sacrificed himself to help everyone.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's still in Johannes, so yeah.
But yeah, he's just like
poor Johannes.
Yeah. I know.
That fucking sucks, man.
I know.
I bet he's making him play a song that he really hates too. That's just that demon bullshit,
Or just something that reminds him about like a really traumatic event in his past.
Or like 99 bottles of beer on the wall.
Yeah.
Or like I don't know, just an annoying song. Maybe like making it slightly off key. Just making it demonically bad. It's like that's actually the cause of this despair Rose felt. Not really even the shears, just like that fucking terrible music. That's not true, but still. All right, so now we get to talk about our Pale in comparison section, how this compares to Pale.
So have you read this?
I read it.
Okay, so Joni hasn't read the full chapter, but I copied and pasted some paragraphs
that you want to talk about.
Because
and I think I was close to it.
Yeah, this is toward the beginning of the chapter, and this is when we learn that Verona has learned at least somewhat about diabolism.
It's like, oh, fuck.
I mean, like, for this podcast and everything, I do kind of want, like, them to be in a situation and then for them to meet, like, a weird tree guy with a bird, and for it to be like, I'm Blake Thorburn, I'm here to help you, or whatever. Like, that'd be so, like, exciting and lit. But also, like, this isn't the, like, Scooby-Doo and the Harlem Globetrotters episodes or whatever. Like, this is, like...
This is, like, the opposite.
This is, like...
Scooby-Doo and the Harlem
We're not here to do a crossover. So...
And that would be, not the same vibe of a crossover. Just to be,
I mean, I'd be so hype.
No, I'm not saying it wouldn't be hype. I'm just saying, like, you can't really say that it's the same fucking vibe. I think they would both be. They're both amazing in different ways. I'll give you
Yeah.
that because that was a
Yeah.
great episode.
But it was exciting to be like, diabolism. She said it.
I know, I'm like, oh my gosh.
And just the fact that she's like, there wasn't a field of practice that didn't tap into it. There wasn't anything that was safe from that vague worry that an obscure spell book could actually have the wrong sort of summoning or symbols left in it. And it's just like, what? Why has no one mentioned before? Like, oh yeah, like you might just summon a demon and you just
Whoopsies.
have to live with that. Like the fact that is possible all the time.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm guessing it's very, very rare or uncommon, but
Yeah, I mean, there's all these, like, I think, so the two demonic-ish references we've had in this story so far are the splinter in that one chick's familiar, and then the doll thing that Clem got in, like,
the ugly mummy
arc
doll
5
thing.
or whatever, right? And we've met so many people and seen so many different types of things, and like, the Duchamps are in this book, and I mean, fucking the Behames are here. Like, we see astronomers, we see, well, sort of. We've like barely touched on it recently, but there's elementalists. Like, I don't know. There's just all sorts of different things, in both of the stories, and we haven't met any Diabolists, and so presumably there aren't that many of them, and like the fact that demons haven't destroyed everything yet suggests that like they're not all powerful. I mean, Rose talks about a couple chapters ago that like, the weakness of the Diabolist is that nobody fucking likes them. Like
Yeah.
no one wants demons to fuck everything up, or for them, basically, and so people do want to stop them. And yeah, I don't know, it was exciting and frightening and wild to hear Verona talk about this. I mean, in a way it's kind of refreshing to hear someone in Pale acknowledge the fact that this does exist and is real and is a concern. But yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of an exciting, like, tiny little bit of like, and the way she compares it to horror practice of like, there's a little bit of like diabolism can be in any aspect of the practice, which is not really how I think about it with Pact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's true. It's kind of just in your face all the time.
Right, but also like it's very much like, here's a demon that we're going to try to get to do something or another, or like here's the thing that we're going to do to try to stop demons from doing anything. Not like the way Verona approaches the practice, which is just like jumbling everything all up together and like, alchemy and crazy diagrams and I don't know, word shenanigans and law. Like there's so many different things that just like Verona kind of has cool experience with, and I don't necessarily think of demons as touching on all those things, but I guess
they can. Well, on that note, because I'm kind of interested now what this is going to be. We're going to talk about Malia's bold and specific prediction.
Yay.
Yay. All right. Hit us with it.
God, it's just like in one chapter we get the zombie things basically resolved. Like, I don't know if they're like gone, definitely, like maybe they could still grab someone and fuck them up, but like, I don't think anyone's going to be like, "Oh, you are my brother. I love you." Like from this point. Faisal is like, I mean, I was assuming Faisal was dead, but I guess maybe not dead. But totally taken over. Barbatorum's here. The rocket launcher went, and we still have like 12 fucking chapters to resolve this story. And so I guess, yeah, I'm missing some sort of like culmination for Blake, and so I need that. And I don't know if that means like Blake has to come out, or we have to see Blake and Rose kind of decide and agree for the ultimate self-sacrificial move of XYZ. I feel like we need some sort of resolution with Green Eyes. I still feel like maybe something with Alexis, but also there's like demons. How are we gonna stop them? Okay.
Yes.
We already used too much of the Bahame power, so I don't think they can just reverse everything. Grandma Rose wants Rose to live long enough and not have any babies so that their family line ends. But first we have to live through today. What do the demon lawyers want? The demon lawyers want to make an example of the Thorburns who are trying to stop being Diabolus. Sort of. I mean, yeah. Sorry for blowing in my microphone. Okay. What can stop demons? The fact that nobody likes them. Alright, here's a stupid prediction. Ms. Lewis has been working with Grandma Rose and is going to betray the lawyers, which will somehow stop the demons. Maybe she'll somehow get Face Hall. She'll steal the pipes from They'll steal the pipes from Barbatorum and Face Hall will fix it. So an actual somewhat prediction is that they're gonna get the pipes and get Face Hall to fix it. But yeah, Ms. Lewis is gonna do it. Because why not? That feels bold.
That's pretty bold. I like it.
My goal at this point.
I need you to type it to write it down. And how's the I guess the spreadsheet coming along?
Pretty good. I'm up to the middle of 2 episodes ago.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Some of the ones that I've done are hard for me to decide whether or not they're yeses or nos or what, but we could also figure that out for sure at the end.
Very true. We can go through it at the end and talk about it.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. Well, we've got a previous discussion question, but the problem is, guys, we can't see any of the answers. So we might just have to skip it.
Well, so the question was, who is your Otherverse OTP? And the right answer was Ainsley and Peter. Except I don't know. Because maybe it's Rose and Alistair, and maybe it's Grandma Rose and Eamon, and maybe it's Blake and Green Eyes, and maybe it's Ambrose and Alexis.
This is
and
how
maybe
sad
it's
I am, Malia, because I forgot what
Turtle
OTP
Queen.
meant. You know, it comes up when you Google OTP.
Oh no.
One-time password. So there you go. New discussion question. Who is your Otherverse one-time password? Who
tell us your passwords to your accounts.
Okay, that's not what I mean. Okay, that didn't come across well. What I'm trying to say, if you had to use an Otherverse character for a password, who would be your pick? No, still too sketchy. All right. Am I coming across like I'm going to steal everyone's identity?
Yes. So I think OTP stands for one true pairing.
It does, yes.
So I think of it as just your favorite ship. I feel like I did manage to see that a couple weeks ago Kippos commented, or a couple days ago, whatever it was, what is time, that Elliot and Miss Lewis is her OTP, which made me really happy.
Elliot?
Yep.
Did she give a rationale why?
I think just the way he was talking about her in one of the episodes.
Oh, okay.
But I also think maybe he was trying to throw me off of the fact that she's super evil. But yeah, so shout out to that answer. Do you have a favorite ship in the Otherverse, Jenny? It doesn't have to be packed.
It's putting me on the spot right now.
Bubble and Toadie's a pretty good one. There's so many good ones.
I like Jasmine and Anthem.
That's fun.
That's a good one.
Oh, I remember actually, I think Kippos's actual answer was Bree and Zed. Or Bread.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Bread's the best.
They're great.
They're
no Ainsley and Peter, but they're great.
Well, yeah, but that's because...
I'm so obsessed with Ainsley and Peter. I'm so obsessed with a lot of things.
Would you call them Painsley?
Yeah. That sounds good.
Painsley.
Because Peter is a pain.
He's a pain. He is a pain. Yeah, Painsley. Painsley and Bread.
Rose and Alistair would be
Jantham. Maybe that's not quite as good.
Jantham sounds fun.
That does sound fun. Jantham. Yeah, I don't know. Fucking ship names. And then, but it's also only doing relationship, romantic relationship when you should do any ships.
Right. They could be. I mean,
What?
Blake and Evan is probably the ultimate OTP in terms of
they're the
like
best.
soulmates.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. But like, what about like since you didn't like my like identity thieving question, so judgy, Malia. What about like what's the best Otherverse name to go on an actual ship?
You mean like pick
Like a boat.
If you had a boat and you had to name it for the Otherverse, what would you pick?
Yes. Bonus points if it's a ship name. Like a ship name.
Like a ship name. Okay, yeah. So tell us what you would name your boat. It has to be Otherverse themed, or tell us a ship. Maybe it's the one you like the best, and your name for it, like bread.
Yeah, I mean that's a weird name for a ship, like a boat.
Yeah, and also tell us what
like,
type of
I
ship.
guess you could be like
in terms of
bread
like,
because
is it
it attracts the fish or something. I don't know.
Is it a little speedboat? Is it like a pirate ship?
Is it a tugboat? Is it
Yeah.
Is it a yacht? You know, there's so many options.
Yeah.
Basically.
Just tell us about ships and ships.
Ships and ships.
And their names.
And their names. And the
Otherverse.
sad thing is we probably can't put this on Reddit, at least for a little bit, until the protesting is done. But that's okay because you have lots of time to think of your ships.
Yes. Also, you can go on our Discord and we'll try to
find
those answers. This makes me think of the fact that our mom was probably named after a tugboat. Do you know about this?
No. What?
So
how do I not know about this?
There's a whole bunch of women that are like in their 60s whose names are Cheryl Ann because there was a tugboat on TV in around that time when they were born called the Cheryl Ann. So there's like a Facebook group that I think mom's a part of that are like people named after a tugboat. And I don't know if she definitely is. Cheryl Ann tugboat.
What?
But mom was maybe named after a tugboat. Her Ann is not spelt correctly, but
so she's like, but she's a little different then.
Yeah,
she's a special one.
Yeah, she's a cool.
Mom's named after a tugboat. You're named after a street sign. What am I, man? I'm just a name.
It's also so weird because you're the firstborn daughter, and she agonized over my name. She's still pissed off that
she didn't name me Catherine Grace.
Right, that my name isn't Catherine Grace. I'm like, this is your fault, Mom. And she's like, but Malia, but Catherine Grace. And I'm always like, why did you name her Jenny? Like, what? And they were just like, I don't know, it was a nice name. I'm like, what the fuck? like, you're not wrong, but why is none of the like name angst put onto Jenny? your first shot at this situation. And then
I know
we're pregnant with a girl, and she was like Catherine Grace.
I was like, no, sorry, Mom, that ship has sailed. Man, yeah, that was very grown-worthy, but that's okay. I've had people tell me I look like a Katie before, so who knows? Maybe in another universe, I'm Catherine Grace.
But see, it wouldn't have been Katie; it would have been Kate. Is what Mom would have called her.
Yeah, but like, I can pick my own damn nickname.
I mean, okay.
Oh, okay. I mean, I don't know. I feel like, well, people have told me I look like a Kate as well, but I don't know. Whatever that means. Whatever Kate or Katie looks like, you know? So, some white chick, basically. That's what I look like. Spoilers. I am a white chick.
Spoilers.
This is so weird. Well, welcome back, guys.
Yeah, but yeah, so the Facebook group is called Cheryl's named after a tugboat, and there's 1.8 thousand likes.
Wow.
And our mom is one of them.
That's wonderful. I did not know that. Thank you for educating me.
Yeah.
On this.
Yeah.
Damn. All right. Well, guys, on that note, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe, share it with your friends, and leave a rating and review. To support our podcast, go to patreon.com/doofmedia. And if you'd like to support Wildbow as he continues to write fantastic stories, go to patreon.com/wildbow.
You can follow the pod on Twitter at Pale Comparison or send us an email at paleincomparisonpod@gmail.com. Keep an eye out for our Reddit thread in r/parahumans if we ever manage to post it, which no rush because fight the power and
Fight the
whatnot.
power. That's right.
But we might post one and you can answer our discussion question there and you can share your thoughts on this episode. Or go to our Discord at doofmedia.com/discord and share your thoughts there in the meantime. In addition, if you'd like to see all of my predictions laid out, check out our episode description for a link to a prediction tracker. Next episode, we will be covering chapters 16.2 and 16.3.
All right. Fun fact time that I'm going to butcher because everyone butchers this. But who knows? Maybe I won't. Okay. She sells seashells by the seashore. Yes!
Woo!
Well, it was likely written about an 1800s female paleontologist who sold dinosaur bones.
That's
Which is
really
pretty
fucking cool. Good for her.
I know. So I guess it's saying it's thought to have been inspired by Mary Anning, who was born in 1799. She ran a little fossil stand on Dorset Beach in England, also known as the Jurassic Coast, just because there's a fuck ton of dinosaur bones there. She also was responsible for finding some of the first dinosaur fossils, including a complete 200 million year old ichthyosaurus skeleton that she came across when she was 12 years old.
Whoa.
So she is more accomplished than I will ever be.
Yeah, that's okay though.
We can't all have a tongue twister, written about us.
I'm now realizing that I think that subconsciously I thought that that was like about Molly Malone or whatever, like the song, like she wheels her wheelbarrow through the streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive-o. Because those are shells.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
And she does sell them. I guess Dublin's not by the seashore. I don't know about geography, don't at me.
Well, I mean, it has to be close enough to get the cockles and mussels, at least, right? So
right. And like, is the problem the seashore and how far away it is, or the shells and whether or not they're actually fucking fossils?
That's a great question.
I'm melting. This was fun. I'm glad you're back.
Me too. I'm glad I'm back. I hope it keeps on going. And that
What's funny?
What's that?
Is there still a chance that we finish this podcast before Pale ends?
Yep. And that's even if we because I don't know. We're probably going to be covering 16.2, 16.3. But I'm also going to say, depending on how crazy it is, depending on the chapter, I won't be surprised if you're like, I need to just talk about this chapter.
Oh no.
So we're just gonna play it by ear. We can do 2, we can do 1, whatever you want to do.
Cool.
We're flexible because it's our podcast. We can do that. I'll leave you guys just as we started off with a reading from the Bible. Same one. Judges chapter 16, verse 1. Samson at Gaza. One day, Samson went to Gaza. He saw a prostitute there and he had sex with her.
The end.
The end. That was the New Catholic Bible version, which they're probably pretty similar in all the other ones. But thank you for listening. And on that note, have a great week.
Yay. Bye.
Bye.